Welcome to the Smithsonian Learning Lab as a constructivist learning environment, a critical review, co-authored by Kevin Murphy and Bree Burke. In this presentation, we will discuss key features of constructivist learning environments, a CLE, and then contrast constructivist learning environments with an objectivist learning environment, an OLE. We will then consider a set of research-driven criteria for evaluating whether a learning environment is constructivist, followed by the introduction of a real-world CLE created by the Smithsonian Institution, its Learning Lab. As we describe the Learning Lab, we will critique it within the CLE framework established at the outset of this presentation. The Learning Lab meets many CLE criteria and exemplifies new constructivist-centered learning made possible with technology. We can start our consideration of the constructivist learning environment, the CLE, from this quote by David Jonassen, an early advocate of improving learning through the CLEs. He states, and I quote, "An antidote for reproductive learning is to engage learners in active, manipulative, constructive, intentional, complex, authentic, cooperative, collaborative, and conversational, and reflective learning activities." End quote. The reproductive learning refers to that which occurs in an objectivist learning environment, an OLE, which is, in many ways, the antithesis of a CLE. While there are certainly times when learning within an OLE is the most effective choice, the CLE allows learners to engage with content at a higher cognitive level, developing skills and knowledge more deeply. In a constructivist learning environment, the focus of the instruction is the learner, not the instructor, as it is in an objectivist learning environment. The CLE is learner-centered. Ertmer and Newby emphasize that the learners are active participants in the construction of knowledge, its creation. The instructional environment provides learners an opportunity to activate their prior knowledge, to have choices, and an opportunity to explore and to allow them the opportunity to create new knowledge. In a well-created CLE, this student-centered environment encourages students to activate their prior knowledge and experiences and to be active participants in the process. Geraldine Lefaux states it well when she writes, "Knowledge construction is founded on internal negotiation of meaning." This statement illustrates how the learner actively engages with the content or problem, internally reconciling it with their own pre-existing understandings. Self-awareness is another key component of a CLE. Daba and Bannon-Ritland, along with Honebein, add that the learners have to own their learning. This will in turn nurture self-awareness, which is central to the creation of knowledge, as it encourages learners to interact with and seek out new content related to a lesson and activate their prior experiences in synthesizing the new information. Without this self-awareness of knowing that they are expected to create their own solution, learners avoid looking for the right answer. The absence of a right answer is one of the fundamental ideas of the CLE. There are multiple solutions because learners have different, unique experiences that they apply, which results in unique understandings and solutions. Along with constructing a CLE that is student-centered, the tasks through which learning will occur need to be authentic, rooted in real-world context that will make the learning relevant and interesting to the student. Jonassen, in writing about the key characteristics of a CLE, clearly states that problems must be interesting, relevant, not overly prescribed, while being ill-structured with multiple solution paths. Others emphasize this point as well. The real world is messy and chaotic, and each of us negotiates meaning in our own way using skills we develop along the way. These skills, often developed in specific contexts, need to be applied to new circumstances, and each learner will do so in a unique way. Another key to the CLE is collaboration. Working with others expands understanding because each learner in the CLE starts at a different point, with different experiences. By working with others, sharing experiences and viewpoints, and negotiating a final meaning together, understanding is created. Collaboration can be done in a face-to-face environment, but the internet expands collaborative opportunities, allowing learners to create content together. Matar touches upon this in his article in which he links constructivism and connectivism, pointing to platforms such as MOOCs that facilitate this shared knowledge creation. Siemens lays out the potential for this technological facilitated social negotiation by describing the growing networks that we join and the others that are available to us as we negotiate our understanding. The CLE connects learners with each other within specific contexts, but collaborative community goes beyond the classroom. As Bransford and others note, the CLE also connects them to the broader communities within which learners live, including family and community. These contexts matter as they affect every learner's experience, which in turn affects their knowledge construction. Finally, there is the instructor. Although more and more learning is occurring online through self-directed e-learning courses, most of the authors we looked at during this unit emphasize the role of the instructor. In a CLE, the instructor becomes a guide who supports the individual or teams through the negotiation process. No longer is the instructor the center of instruction, the sage on the stage, imparting knowledge on a passive audience, as in an OLE. Honebein lists the key functions of the instructor as mentor, coach, facilitator, and consultant. Jonasson emphasizes the instructor as a coach who analyzes strategies being used to solve problems. The instructor provides scaffolding for learners to help them along the process, guiding them along Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. Jonasson also emphasizes the role of instructor in ensuring or correcting flawed learner representations. Learners might have constructed an incorrect or flawed understanding of something that needs to be corrected by the instructor. Siemens takes this one step further and addresses the lack of an instructor in some self-directed learning environments. He notes that the learner networks assume some of the instructor functions, providing support and helping learners through the unknown. Many computer-based courses also provide robust help guides that users can access when they run into problems and need support, something we see within the Smithsonian's Learning Lab. It is worth re-emphasizing some of the key differences between the objectivist learning environment and the constructivist one. The CLE focuses on learner creation of knowledge, while, according to Ertmer and Newby, the OLE expects the learner to simply demonstrate a predetermined response to stimuli. Learners develop these reactions through rote learning, skill and drill exercises that alter a learner's behavior. The context in which the content is presented in an OLE doesn't matter, as learners are expected to learn the behavior regardless. Authentic learning contexts drive learning in the CLE, not only to keep learner interest, but also to expand the transference of skills from one situation to another. OLE context might be narrowly defined and prescribed, whereas a CLE context reflects the chaos of the real world, the fuzziness of both problems and solution paths. The OLE is instructor-led, again, sage on the stage, not student-centered as in the CLE. The instructor provides the correct solution and expects the learners to learn it and replicate it. The OLE has no expectation that students will draw on their experiences in processing information, as in the CLE. They simply observe and repeat. The CLE instructor acts as a guide, facilitator, or even, as Siemens proposes, the curator of learning. Whether an individual or a network, scaffolding is provided to learners so learning might occur at a higher level. Collaboration is not important in the OLE except as a means to provide an opportunity to drill and practice. Collaboration is central to the CLE, allowing learners to negotiate meaning and explore a diversity of ideas and create different solutions.
Take a moment to consider this table that emphasizes 4 of the key categories Ertmer and Newby use in their analysis of different learning theories. Again, notice the importance placed on the learner creation of knowledge and authentic learning contexts. The Smithsonian Learning Lab is a free interactive online tool. It is designed for K-12 students and teachers to locate and interact with digital resources that are part of the Smithsonian's collection. Users create a login and use intuitive search boxes to locate images, articles, podcasts, videos, and more, which they then use in an original collection. They can either begin from scratch or copy an existing collection and modify its contents. Given the museum's vast resources, students can research topics in social studies, the arts, the sciences, and almost any field you can imagine. This design aligns with item 4 on the Duffy and Cunningham checklist, the mediation of learning by tools and signs.
Here is the main page of the Learning Lab, and if we go up here, we can search for a particular topic and look for artifacts. In this case, those that might be related to Apollo 11. When I hit enter, the system goes ahead and brings up, first of all, the resources that are available related to Apollo 11, but also I can access collections that have already been created. And so when we're looking at this as a constructivist learning environment, we have an opportunity to allow students to create their own collections. They can go ahead and choose items to include into their collection from the Smithsonian collections. And again, they can search for items using keywords. Once an item is added, students can add comments to it, allowing them an opportunity to think about the item and how it fits in with the context and the assignment. We have an example of that one if we look at this third collection here. Again, added by a student, created possibly for a class assignment or whatnot. We can go ahead and again just keep going into the collection. As we move forward, we see here in this upper left hand corner something that was attached by the user when they were creating it. And so here is just some commentary that the user had. Again, one of the key aspects of constructivism is allowing students to create. And so here we have an opportunity to allow students to create their own collection using items that they choose, selecting them from the Smithsonian collection, but we also have them adding information, adding commentary that they might choose to add here.
As the video emphasizes, the Learning Lab allows for the creation of content and the construction of knowledge. Now that we've taken a look at the Learning Lab, introducing a number of its constructivist functions, let's look at how the Learning Lab fits in with constructivist learning theory. A checklist like this one from Duffy and Cunningham allows us to see where the Learning Lab meets the expectations of a CLE and where it falls short. This checklist, which synthesizes their work from their chapter in the Handbook of Research for Educational Communications and Technologies from 1996, lists several criteria of the theory of constructivism and its implications on learning design. In this seminal piece, the authors describe the context of constructivism's philosophical underpinnings and explain how situated learning has evolved. Their article describes a number of tenets and key concepts that form our understanding of constructivist learning environments. For example, the idea that all knowledge is constructed and that constructivism is both founded on and can further develop multiple perspectives. We've applied this checklist to the Learning Lab and describe how the lab meets most of the checklist's criteria, supporting our conclusion that the Smithsonian Institution's Learning Lab is a constructivist learning environment. A more detailed analysis will be provided in the following sections. Does the Smithsonian Learning Lab meet the criteria for being a CLE? Based on the research presented at the outset of the presentation and on the Duffy and Cunningham checklist, we conclude that it meets most criteria for a constructivist learning environment. To start, it is learner-centered and allows for learning in an authentic context. Users can create original content and collections based on artifacts selected by each learner individually. Learners control the creation of their collections. This satisfies Duffy and Cunningham's first criteria that all learning is a process of construction driven by the learner. The context is authentic in that students are developing real-world skills that will transfer to other contexts. For example, from a historiography perspective, students engage with primary sources the way a practicing historian would by addressing or developing their own essential questions, searching for resources, collecting, tagging, and describing them to create an argument. They locate resources to help them construct and demonstrate their knowledge. Students learn how to create an effective solution to the assignment presented, adding in personal annotations as needed. Items 3, 8, 12, and 13 from the Duffy and Cunningham checklist can be considered met. In the areas of instructor role and collaboration, we see some limitations emerge. The instructor's role can be mentoring rather than strictly instructive, depending on how one constructs the learning environment. With some initial direction and then continued scaffolding, students can be self-directed. This is something clearly supported in the Learning Lab. Furthermore, through the Learning Lab, instructors can utilize several options to guide and assess students. Instructors can create a model collection or can provide links to existing collections to help students see what a collection can be. They can also create an assignment for classes. This can simply be an instruction page, the rubric and quiz page through which the instructor collects information about student understanding or allows for learner reflection, another key component of a CLE. Formative feedback, where the instructor acts as a guide, would have to be done in a classroom or through some other platform, as the Learning Lab does not seem to allow for immediate feedback, such as in a Google Doc. For this reason, the role of the instructor in the Learning Lab is somewhat, although not completely congruent with the constructivist approach. This is reflected in the checklist. Depending on the instructor, assessment may be ongoing, authentic, valid, and reliable. The Learning Lab platform does not fully support collaboration, though again, it can be a central part of a collaborative learning environment design. The lab is limited in allowing for synchronous collaboration and does not allow comments as many Web 2.0 platforms do. The Learning Lab allows learners to engage with a communal database of knowledge, not only drawing from it but contributing to it. For this reason, item 2 on the constructivist learning environment checklist, that multiple perspectives are supported, is considered to be met. If the world is moving more towards the connectivist model Siemens proposes, this will be an important skill to have moving forward. We end our presentation by examining the technology used in this learning environment. Does it support constructivism? Does it follow principles laid out by connectivism? Is it a constructivist learning environment? The Smithsonian Learning Lab engages learners in an active, authentic experience that allows for higher order and reflective activities. Doing so through a digital medium expands its reach and incorporates key elements of connectivism, adding in multiple perspectives, multiple users, and creating a shared knowledge base. Through a computer or tablet, users engage in active learning with over 1 million authentic materials in a reflective manner through its online search, collection, tagging, and sharing capabilities. Again, the technology is intuitive for anyone who has ever used a search engine, and for first-time users, screen tips pop up offering training videos or articles, facilitating self-directed learning. The image above shows an example of editing a resource. This gives learners an opportunity to both absorb information and actively place it within their own schemas, experiences, and understanding. According to Simmons' 2005 Principles of Connectivism, technology enables learners to create networks with and among their peers. On connectivism, he says, knowledge that resides in a database needs to be connected with the right people in the right context in order to be classified as learning. The Learning Lab creates a shared database that facilitates the creation of networks among established learning groups, either organized by a teacher or not, a resource-rich cultural organization, outside materials, and by independent learners. It democratizes the Smithsonian collection for learners around the world and is free to use. Simmons further argues that know-how and know-what is being supplemented with know-where, the understanding of where to find knowledge needed. The Learning Lab gives users the space to construct their own understanding of a topic based on resources they locate. Users access both Smithsonian's collection and can also add resources from other sites to their personalized collections, thus networking across platforms. This all reinforces their ability to know where information resides and how to pull it into their original work. We therefore conclude that the Smithsonian Learning Lab is a constructivist learning environment that is learner-centered, authentic, learner-driven, and collaborative, and that it supports the development of networks among learners, organizations, and informations in an online environment.